We're going to get this thing started here. Wanted to first and foremost thank everybody for coming out. This is going to be an informative session. We've got a great lineup right here for the panel. I'm super excited about that. Some great companies that you guys probably all have heard of. This is going to be how to sell hosted VoIP. So some of you guys in the room have probably sold a bunch of hosted VoIP. Can I see a raise of hands? Anyone who sold a hosted VoIP deal? Pretty much almost the entire room. All right, good, nice. So this will be a nice touch-up and refresher, and maybe you'll learn a few things along the way as well. So first, I guess what we'll do is we'll kind of announce the panel, and I'll pass the mic over here to Stu Kalinsky.
Dan asked a great question. How many of you have sold a hosted VoIP account? Everybody raised your hand. How many have sold two? All right, it's good to have you. It's good to keep you on the team. Anyways, my name is Stu Kalinsky. I'm the VP of Sales for a company called IP Phone. We're headquartered down here in North Miami. We have a 22-year history of telecommunications migration, and now we pride ourselves in being in the hosted UCaaS, VoIP, cloud, and all the other acronyms that go along with this technology and bandwidth space. We have about 45,000 seats, 4,000 separate logos, and we try to do the best job we can to make you guys happy.
Hey guys, Carl Katz, Nextiva. We are based in Scottsdale, although I'm based here in Parkland, not too far away. I'm the Vice President of Channel Sales for Nextiva. We've been around since 2006. And since this is VoIP, we'll call it dog years. So that's 13 times 7, it's a long time. And we're the 6th largest UCaaS company in the U.S., largest privately held UCaaS company in the U.S. also. So.
Make sure this is on. There we go. Good afternoon, everybody. Tom Grady. I'm the Regional Sales Manager for Florida for Momentum Telecom. Been around since 2001. Like everybody else on this panel, a UCaaS provider. But these days we tend to refer to it as communications as a service, since it's gone way beyond just voice these days. Again, I cover Florida, and I am part of our channel organization.
Welcome all. Brian Holdorf here with Net2Phone. Thank you all for your time. Please be part of the TCG family. Net2Phone is a nationwide provider of hosted voice and SIP trunks, and we're super excited just to be in the portfolio. We bring some great value-add props to our customers, and I'm excited to share them with you. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Joel Poythress. I'm the VP of Sales for Star Communications. We're based in Sarasota, Florida. Been around since 2006, or 13 years. We are one of the top UCaaS providers, labeled as the 5th largest worldwide. And I appreciate you having me here today. Thank you.
All right, so now that we've got introductions out of the way, we'll break this ice a little bit, and Joel, we'll head back down to you for this first question. So, first question is, if you could be any animal, basically a spirit animal, what would your spirit animal be?
Well, this is a good one. We did this one at dinner the other night, believe it or not. So anyhow, my spirit animal would be a zebra, able to be flexible, able to hide from others, able to cover ground quickly and get away from your prey.
Man, I got to go with the water buffalo, man. I'm the most dangerous unknown person in that, or unknown animal in the field out there.
Well, since I own 2 of them, I would say probably a husky. Hardworking, loyal, but somebody who is also a predator.
I'd say a lion because we eat zebras and water buffalo. So, yeah, definitely.
And after careful consideration, I think I'd like to be a rabbit, because then I could multiply really quickly and I wouldn't have to work so hard.
All right, so now that we've gotten the icebreakers out of the way, let's throw up a beach ball here as a question for you guys, and you guys can kind of weigh in and see what you think. For people out here that haven't really done a ton of hosted and UCaaS, how can you recognize a good UCaaS customer, a good hosted customer? And, Stu, I'll pass the mic back to you.
Okay. Well, first of all, it's important to get into somebody's office to see what they have now. And I always like to look at the paper tapes on the side of that 25-year-old Meridian or Key system that they have and ask them how many people on those tapes still work here. And if half of them still do, you have a pretty good candidate on your hand. I always try to find out how long somebody's had their legacy system and try to talk them into and discuss how to modernize it and standardize their technology. So old system rocks.
So first off, multi-location companies is a no-brainer because extension-to-extension dialing and utilizing the app and presence is critical for multi-location organizations. So first and foremost, multi-location. Also, companies that are looking to advance their technology, increase their productivity, gain a competitive edge in their marketplace by providing, high-end unified communications, tying everything together, helping organizations, communicate more effectively and collaborate internally and externally more effectively as well.
In addition to those two, actually, one of the things I come across quite a bit really is companies who are in growth mode, whether it's by organic means or by M&A, more so by M&A. If you're in a legacy environment and you're beginning to grow through acquisition, the ability to actually have that flexibility with an on-premise system is out the window, as we all know. So that's really an impetus for them to really make that jump to the cloud and really makes them start to think, this is the time. This is where I need to be, really seriously thinking about making that transition.
For me, I always would try to keep it simple. It could be really for anybody interned into the hosted voice market, look at their business card. Do they have a mobile phone number on that business card? If they do, then that's a potential customer, because if that salesperson or that individual leaves the organization, what are they taking with them? So nowadays, with the tools we provide, with the Find Me, Follow Me, and the mobile applications, we can now give that back to the owner, that phone number back to the ownership, and let them direct that. So it can be that simple.
I think to expand on that a little bit, whether it be a small, medium, large enterprise type customer, what are their communication and collaboration needs going forward? What are they looking to achieve to communicate with their employees, communicate with their customers and their end users, and really understand their business needs and requirements as they do so?
All right, so some great answers. So are there any specific industries or verticals that are better than others? And, we'll just keep it coming back this way, Joel. So if you want to start with, any specific verticals or industries that are better for others in the hosted voice space and trying to sell a customer?
Well, I mean, if you look at it from a broad-based perspective, it covers a lot of industries and verticals, from retail to manufacturing to healthcare to education, right? That's a great... All those have applications for hosted voice from a solution perspective, collaboration and growth. So from a targeted perspective, you can expand upon that with specific capabilities, feature functionality. Find Me, Follow Me for certain integrations. When you look at those from a Salesforce, Zoho, CRM perspective, all of those can capture market share and growth for you.
Past all the standard ones, the multi-sites, international, national that we touch on, I look at the car dealerships out there today. They typically have got an older phone system. They have challenges with the used car location across the street, and how do we connect that? They've had, multiple times added ring groups and call groups that you guys can come in here and clean up. So those are always good for that. They have who's calling, as their line service for call recording, getting just basic information from that, spending $1,000 a month. You walk in, sell them call recording, you're not only tracking the ads themselves, which we can track and provide analytics to give them back to these people they're spending money on, but also bring in call recording to the whole organization, which changes the culture as well. So a lot of capabilities within car dealerships.
All the verticals that you've already mentioned are classic, of course. Healthcare, huge vertical for us. But one that I've had a number of years of experience before I came to Momentum is in the financial world. Banks, credit unions, who have traditionally been slow to adopt, but they're at the point now where they're faced with, how do we improve collaboration? How do we improve customer experience? So we're finding that vertical market actually right now is ready to make that jump from on-prem into the cloud. They've started to dip their toe in other ways. but now they're really starting to see how they can utilize technology and collaboration really to drive customer experience for them.
So yeah, all those. At the end of the day, there's a crisis in business communications, and businesses don't know what they don't know. So it's our job as professionals and to sell them, obviously, technology and tools that'll help them replicate success. Somebody brought up analytics. We have an analytics platform that's critical. So you can actually look at your marketing and replicate marketing successes. You can look at your personnel and replicate those successes. Anybody who wants to be able to manage your phone system and not need to call in to manage your phone system, collaboration tools is critical. Sharing, doctor's offices and such, HIPAA compliance is really big. But a lot of times, sending out a link to the customer so the customer can share your screen right there and then, and they can actually look at what you're looking from a billing perspective is critical. So really any industry is a good industry for unified communication. And right now we're even getting into nonprofits, so which obviously want to be thrifty. So unified communication, due to price compression and things happening in our industry, is enabling other organizations, including nonprofits, national nonprofits, to move to hosted voice.
So there are no more verticals. But I would say this, that if you're going to delve into vertical selling, which means picking out an industry or two that you're going to focus on, that it's very important that you know what they do, why they do it. Most of them are the same. If you get a couple of sales under your belts, make sure that the ones that are under your belts have either written you a letter or will be happy to take a phone call, because the most important thing about vertical selling is that all the people within an industry, particularly within a marketplace, they all know each other. And the words can travel fast, in any regard. So you have to be careful, the vertical that you pick, and make sure that you have a clear understanding, because that'll get you to second base even before you start asking questions.
So pretty much every business, every SMB enterprise, I believe is a target for UCAS, and things are definitely opening up. We're seeing some really, really big wins, and in a time when people necessarily wouldn't have gone to a unified communications as a service or a hosted plan, now we're seeing large companies, 1,000-seat deals moving that direction. So why lead with UCAS? If someone, let's say some of these people, some of the agents in this room are, selling circuits and they're not really touching the voice part of it, they think that that's a headache, it's not worth the time. Stu, what do you think? Why should some of these people sell UCAS?
Well, I think the cat's out of the bag on VoIP, on UCAS, on cloud communications. When you really think about it, the industry is probably getting close to 20 years old since the early 2000s when it was first being sold as an anomaly. And now, my guess is if you look at the UCAS space right now, we're probably standing on second base if this is a baseball game, or if it's halftime, if it's a football game. But everybody knows somebody that has it. A lot of people are using it. There's a lot of reference out there. So you can lead with it, and people generally know what you're going to be talking about. Whereas before, sometimes you just see their eyes roll right back in their head. And the workplace has changed, so people are understanding that they need something to modernize.
So you need to change the conversation. We need to get into technology. UCAS is a first step into providing advanced technologies. Unified communications, just that. It's unifying their communications across all their locations, unifying their communications, from a collaboration perspective. We need to make sure that we have the right conversation, because at the end of the day, unified communications is a means to an end, not the end, right? So you want to make sure that you're being progressive with the organization and not selling unified communication as a phone service, right? Because a lot of times we still use the words hosted VoIP, which really diminishes the product. Unified communication is important. We want to start using the words platform as a service. Whether you're a unified communications company offering different types of platforms, we need to start talking about platforms, because platforms, getting them on a platform is the impetus for taking them to the next level and selling them additional products and services on that platform and selling other solutions.
And actually, to piggyback off a little bit of that, voice for all these organizations, whether they're small SMB up to large enterprise, voice is mission critical. If you ask any one of them, and one of the standard questions is, do you consider voice critical to your business? And for the most part, they're going to say yes. So if you can bring a solution to them that actually addresses a critical piece of their business, that one makes you a trusted advisor for them. Two, it's sticky, right? You're going to go in and you're going to become a key part of that organization. Because many of these organizations, as all of you probably who raised your hand that you sold UCaaS know, they don't want to deal with voice internally. They want to hand that off to somebody else, and they want somebody else to actually run it for them to make it simpler for them. So if you can actually position yourself in there as that technology advisor on that voice side, on the unified communication side, that makes you all that more valuable to that client.
For me, I've adopted a saying, hosted voice. The promise of hosted voice was simple to use, cool where you needed it to be, and at a set price per month. And when you bring that to the table, you get people's attention. They're coming from a relationship of a PBX or a key system where they were held hostage. They were, everything was an ad moves in charge, maintenance upgrades. Now they won't even talk to you unless you have software assurance. All those things where they're coming from, you can correct a lot of quick things very easily with hosted voice.
So two things. Dan mentioned large deployments, data circuit provider, adding UCaaS, unified communications, hosted VoIP solutions. It obviously offers a sticky, more robust solution for your customers, providing a bundling type scenario. Additionally, if you look at the macro system of users in the marketplace today, particularly medium and enterprise customers, greater than 90% of users today of companies have remote users of some type and need some sort of mobility, some sort of solution that they can provide to their remote employees. And by layering on a UCaaS type solution, you can solve those problems and add value for that customer.
So let's get into the meat and potatoes of this thing, right? So now that somebody has a prospective client that they're going to go out and see, what is the first question a seller should ask a prospect when trying to transition them from a PBX to a hosted solution? Basically once they get the meeting, and a second part of this question: is there anything they should bring with them on that appointment?
So starting on this end now? Yeah. So we'd like to look at it a little differently. When we approach a client like that, we try to ask, what are you trying to do with your business? How do we differentiate what you're trying to achieve, and how do we solve those problems? Right, so we can come in with a feature functionality matrix and show up and throw up, but that's not what we want to do. We really want to understand what the customer's trying to do with their business communications today and on a go-forward basis. Do they have a legacy voicemail system they're managing? Do they have hardware intricacies that they need to look at? Do they have support and maintenance? So secondarily, I think, from a longer perspective, can we do anything from a customization or solution that they need to do on a go-forward basis? Are there custom integrations that we can look at doing for them, building a level of effort, trying to provide some unique capabilities that they don't have today that they really would like to achieve? That's one way to differentiate your service and offering to that customer.
I agree, and I always kind of try to bring in real life scenarios. I mean, you guys are down here in Florida. Natural disasters are a thing, and how people prepared for it last time, and what happened last time, and how much it impacted your business when you couldn't get in the door. It's just things that hosted voice. Disaster avoidance is a big conversation and an easy conversation to have, but just finding obviously their pain points or something. And I'm a traditionalist. I would still, as an agent, ask for their bills, and asking for their bills is something that you become the trusted advisor. And if they aren't giving you those bills, then for me, when I was a direct and carrying the bag, I felt like I knew where I stood in that equation. And so, just looking and gaining insight of what the customer, the clues they're telling you is really big.
What I always ask first is why. Why are we here? Because that then leads to an abundance of other questions from the customer. It helps them tell me what are their goals, what are their expectations, even what are their timelines, what are they trying to accomplish in the end. So one simple word leads to so many other questions that then allows us to be able to then put together, a viable solution based on what are they telling us. How are we going to then, based on what they've shared, impact those areas of pain, right? We want to find out what are their challenges and then make sure we're specifically addressing those challenges. So for me, it always starts with why.
Yeah, so it's always about understanding what challenges businesses have in today's communication environment. Obviously, it starts with the challenges, and then we get a little deeper and we talk about, what defines success. Show me what success looks like. What's successful to you from even basic, when a call comes in, talk to me about your salespeople. Okay, what defines success for your salespeople? How many calls do your salespeople make before they actually make a sale? What's average? Talk to me about your top salesperson, what they do. Talk to me about your marketing initiatives and how you go to market. How you advertise your organization. What's your definition of success from a marketing perspective? And then how are we going to replicate that success across the board? Obviously, that's critical to any business understanding. And that's really what I was discussing before. It's a crisis in business communications because businesses don't understand what success looks like. If they don't understand what success looks like, they can't replicate it. And that's what I think unified communication does for businesses and platform selling does for businesses.
So, so I tend to agree with the gentleman over here on first question you asked, because you've obviously made an appointment with somebody and you said, I'd like to come in maybe and assess your communications requirements for your business, and they let you in. And the first question is to reiterate that, of course, and ask what motivated them to see you today. Because obviously they had the choice to see you or not, and they did. So there was something that triggered the need for the desire for the conversation. So that's the first question to go to, in my opinion. And number two, the follow-up to that was, what do you bring on the appointment? And for God's sakes, bring a couple of phones, all right? Because if you don't, the UCAS and hosted Voip and all these other things are intangible. You can't see them, touch them, feel them, or smell it. So it's hard for them to understand exactly what they're getting for the money. But when you bring in a cool phone with a color screen and all kinds of gadgets all over it, and you put it next to that 20-year-old Merlin that they have, ask which one would you prefer, all right? So you do bring it, and also do not go to an appointment without having the mobile app on your smartphone so that you can show it, because you're going to talk about it. So there.
All right, good stuff. So just to pile on here a little bit, describe some of the benefits of going from traditional PBX to a UCAS. And I know some of you guys have touched on some of the reasons, but Stu, you want to elaborate on some of those reasons?
Well, sure. There's certainly predictability of ease of implementation, although there are a lot of moving parts, as many of you know, on an implementation. But it sure is, in my opinion, less painful than installing, a hard PBX, if you will. I think that the getting all the features that come with it, the multi-location, enterprise grade, and self-service on the user portal is important to a lot of people, particularly if they have administrators who can handle it.
So it starts basic. When I do demos, the most basic thing people love is the ability to push calls through, right? You laugh at that, but I mean, you can use any device at any time from anywhere in the world on Wi-Fi or 4G LTE and make a call like you're sitting in your office. So it's easily displayed on a demo because you can actually go from your office phone or the phone that you bring to the customer, pull the call to an app, pull the call to another app, and then pull it back to the phone all around the world there in 10 seconds. It's very quick. So it really shows the benefit of unified communications because you can be in Japan on a laptop, open up and have a call like you're sitting in the US, and nobody will ever know. So it's complete collaboration between any user anywhere in the world, all with the basic services basically.
For me, there's really four things that I will usually talk to a client about as far as the benefits. One being simplicity. I mentioned earlier that clients today don't want the responsibility anymore of managing this themselves. So having the simplicity of shifting that responsibility of support and maintenance onto somebody else. Let them take care of the benefits, the metrics, and everything that they get as far as advantages for UCAS. Number two is flexibility. In the old world, right, in the old PBX world, you had to have a crystal ball to figure out how many licenses you needed to buy when you wanted to expand your system. And did I have enough ports? And did I have enough this? In the cloud world, you could add 1, you could add 100, you could add 1,000. So the flexibility to grow it in a very short period of time is key for them. Number three, obviously, we want to make sure we're following the right, financial path, but gives them a predictable path. So if they're going to grow, they know exactly how much they're going to spend. If they're going to open an office of 50 people, I know exactly what I'm going to be spending for those 50 people. And number 4, especially for me here in Florida, disaster recovery. In the on-prem PBX world, only large organizations have the ability to create really true redundancy, true resiliency. But in the cloud world, we've taken care of that. We've built that resiliency and redundancy in our architecture and our platforms, which actually takes that off their plate.
Oh, yeah, all great things there. Me coming, I think my partners and my customers benefit from my experience of coming from the phone system world and embedded in me. It picked me, I always say. But from that, it's showing them what they couldn't get or what their struggles, knowing that the struggles they have. Like back in my day, we had to do a busy study to find out who's getting what calls, how many calls, and that took months and costs. Now we can show them the analytics right away of just asking a simple question, how much is your average call worth, and taking that and showing them how many calls they could be potentially missing and such would be huge. Setting up an auto attendant, simple as that, at Tuesday at 10 o'clock at night, and knowing that you couldn't get to the office the next day. The pain points that they're having to do ad moves and changes are all real, and it's really great that hosted voice can solve many of those challenges.
All great topics: survivability, redundancy, resiliency, flexibility, cost savings, QoS. Everything's been covered. I think to expand upon that, one more item from a collaboration and future-proofing perspective. As the industry changes, the requirements changes, the software can change to support that customer. We can look at additional integrations, additional solutions, additional layering of products and services that they may not have or may not need today, from a webinar-based capability to a eFax to a platform as a service type solution that Carl mentioned earlier. All of these things can take the customer as they grow and take them into the next phase of their business and growth cycle.
All right, so Joel, and I'll kick it back to you. So what are some unique offerings that Star2Star is bringing to the market that could benefit our partners and their customers?
Good. No, thank you. So one of the key products we launched this past summer is our desktop as a service solution called StarDaaS, and that is in a partnership with Citrix. So to expand upon that, we're the only Citrix provider that's certified our UCaaS platform inside a Citrix environment. So from a uniqueness perspective, stickiness perspective, service offering perspective, you can offer your customer a virtual desktop as a service with a Microsoft Office integration, their own applications, as well as a voice application called our Starphone for Desktop, where they don't even need a hard phone. You can literally use a mobile workforce, leverage a thin client. So if you look at it from a Chromebook or a legacy Windows computer, they don't have to upgrade their technology. And we have several customers who are using this today. It's unique in the marketplace. We're the only ones offering it. One of the other components of that is, if you look at the workforce for enterprise today, over 90% have remote or mobile users. Over 60% have contractors that need some sort of access to company information and solutions. We can solve all those problems using our StarDaaS product and services, and happy to provide some more information on that when you get a chance.
Net2Phone, for us, we have several value props, I think, and we want to always have our partners provide. And that one is a clear international capability that we provide with getting DIDs in 70 different countries and free unlimited calling into 30 different countries. We've seen just the reverse of that, getting a $5 DID in Brazil and being able to now provide free unlimited calling in the U.S. and 30 other countries as well. So it's just the inverse of that is if there's an international need, I'm confident we can help them. We also do something pretty distinct, and we disrupt it in a good way, the market. A lot of our providers, our competitors, are providing a bundled solution offering, which is a me too. We walk in, we just ask, how many users do you have? But we want to train our partners to walk in and ask the unbundled question of how many lines and how many users do you need? And for that, you can immediately provide a value that could, again, bring you into provide a more complete solution. What I mean by that is when we have unbundled offering and we can provide hospice with 20 lines, shared lines, but have 100 users on it, we now provide a lower entry price, and it's not about bringing first to free with us. It's about now making your solution stronger. Take the money we save and now provide a fiber circuit versus everybody else a broadband. Provide a redundant circuit broadband where nobody else is providing. So that's how we want to leverage that plan. We have a pricing solution we have a pricing tool that you could walk into that customer and price it right in front of them. So you strike when the iron's hot. You don't have to wait 3 days and hear the stories. We have a markup ability, which is we do not provide our pricing anywhere publicly for a reason that you, the agent, can name your price on each and every deal over our set price. So it's a very strong program there as well. So you get paid for your time if you want to be out there. If it's going to be a tough customer to deal with, you're not losing money talking to them. So it's great for that. So we also have texting. Several maybe here do individual texting. I'm not sure if anybody else does group and picture texting. We're just hitting an iceberg, a tip of the iceberg. My daughter just got a job recently at Amazon, and the whole thing went through text. That manager isn't using their personal cell phone to do that. There's a tool and an application. And so texting just hitting the tip of the iceberg. And now we can provide group texting as well. So your picture or your need comes into a group, and a group member can take that and assign it. So a lot of great value for us.
So the name of the game for Momentum in the last 6 to 8 months has been diversification. The previous 18 years of our existence, the focus was UCaaS. It was selling hosted voice and collaboration. A few months ago, we acquired a company called Metro Optical, which is now our network services team. That enables us to provide a global optical network, dedicated internet, optical waves, dark fiber, you name it. Simultaneous to that, we also acquired a company that is now our managed SD-WAN solution. So we bring SD-WAN to the table as well. And finally, we've also beefed up our contact center as a service offering, including Cisco's WebEx Contact Center. So it allows us to really to have a lot more deeper conversations than just voice. Voice is still the core, and then we wrap all these other conversations around it to be able to complement and bring much more to that same customer than we ever could before.
Nextiva's goal, we have 250 developers on staff for the last 4 years. All of our technology is organic, so it's built within. Our goal as an organization, and our CEO and founder, Thomas Corney, says it all the time, we want to democratize technology. We're all about it. So everybody knows when they go to a Fortune 500, Fortune 1000 site, right? You go in, there's a little chat box there, right? You go in, you do your transaction, you have the ability to call in, okay? And at the end of the day, at the end of the transaction, there's a survey sent over to you, right? All this is done while the organization, whether it be Nike or whoever it is getting real-time business analytics and business intelligence on the interaction with the customer. So I mentioned earlier that there is a crisis in business communication. There really is. Businesses, SMB, right, small to medium-sized businesses don't have the ability to look at that technology and use that technology and say, you know what, let me understand my customers better, right? Let me replicate success. Let me understand them. So Nextiva, a few months ago, and now we just had our NextCon meeting that Dan was at, we unveiled our new platform technology, right, which is going to revolutionize. We're going to revolutionize not only unified communications, but platform communications. The platform consists of voice, our own service and sales CRM, web chat, and surveys, all on one platform. So going into the crisis, right now businesses are using siloed, disparate technologies, right? All these different technologies from different silos. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to integrate that technology together to come up with that business analytics and business intelligence information. They can't do it. It's not possible. Larger Fortune 500 and Fortune 1000 companies have millions and millions of dollars to do this. But the average small to medium-sized business don't have the ability to take those disparate siloed technologies and bring them together so they get a holistic understanding of their business, right? That is the crisis today. And businesses don't know what they don't know. So what we do typically as salespeople, and I'm guilty of this, you go in and you say how many seats you have, and they say, okay, I have 10 seats. Okay, great. I'm going to provide you for 10 seats, I'm going to give you this pricing, all right? When we don't go into what their pain points really are, how do you communicate with your customers? How do you collaborate with your customers? How do you store that information? When somebody leaves your organization, Mr. Small to Medium Business, and they're using Outlook, and you shut down Outlook, and you don't have a real CRM solution to keep track and actually send out emails and receive emails, How do you keep track of that information and understand customer sentiment, where the customers are in their journey? That's critical. Nextiva is answering those questions because it's important to take action real time on that customer sentiment. If they're not happy, everybody knows the acquisition cost of getting a customer is much more expensive than keeping a customer. So we want to take action if the customer is not happy based on the last interaction. And we want to sell them something if they're happy based on the last interaction. Getting an overall scoring system on the customer interaction, customer sentiment, and customer journey is what Nextiva's been developing for the last 4 years. We finally have it all, and we're truly one of the only platform as a service organizations with organic technologies instead of silos trying to integrate. And that's the differentiator between Nextiva and our competitors.
Carl. You brought him in? So IP Phone installs every single system on site, whether it's 5 phones or 500 phones. A technician will go to the customer's location anywhere in the United States and anywhere in the Caribbean or South America, and will send a tech, and they will do on-site installation of the router, the phones, and do fundamental training on every single sale, which is included in our propositions at the time of quotation or proposal. So the reason that we do that and sort of absorb the cost of doing that kind of install, regardless of the size of it, is because the first couple of weeks of the customer experience is paramount and critical. They're either going to love you or hate you for time immemorial. They'll have the phone system for 10 years or 10 minutes, depending how the first 10 minutes goes. So we choose not to send phones, and we choose to send people, all right? In the state of Florida, some of you know us, we have trucks all over the place, and if we go outside, we have a third-party agnostic group that works on our behalf. They're paid handsomely for their efforts, and we have and we do a survey afterwards to make sure that they're representing us in the right way. Another thing is that we have 2 platforms. We are one of the original BroadSoft platforms from 2002, number 37, by the way. Of course, BroadSoft was absorbed and bought by Cisco, so now we're part of the Cisco family. And we use that platform, generally speaking, for more complex implementations where the customer needs a hierarchy of feature sets, analytics, contact center, et cetera. We also have another platform that's more of an asterisk-based platform that is similar to Net2Phones, where we have a fundamental entry-level product, phone inclusive, which is, as you well know, if you've sold this kind of thing, it's very easy to recommend, it's easy to digest by the customer, and it's easy to quote. And you can do it on the spot. I mean, it shouldn't take more than 10 minutes to whether they figure it out or not. And lastly, we have a vertical that is semi-unique to us, I think, nationwide. We specialize in the hospitality space, and some of you may know that. We probably have 15 to 20 hotel installations around the United States, some in Miami, some in the Caribbean, some in other places. And we made the investment into a company called Jazz that was bought by BroadSoft, and it allows us to interface with the property management system in the hotels. I'm sure some of you are familiar with this whole thing, because hosted won't work unless you can call for room service, housekeeping, or wake-up call. So you have to have that built into the system. The billing and the pricing is way different. The rooms are cheap, because when's the last time anybody ever used their hotel room phone? I mean, really. All right? It's only $8 a minute. Where do I dial? So, and lastly, that vertical sort of migrates into the education, schools, which are mandated to have phones in every classroom for 911 and paging. It's a universal mandate, plus the administration phones as well. And it also goes to the nursing home industry, which is very similar to a hotel. The only difference is you don't know when they're going to check out.
Man, Stu, you're on a roll here. I might have to hand you back the microphone.
Who brought this guy over here?
All right, so on to some other important topics, right? So everyone knows that hosted seat pricing is dropping fast. I think, when we first started selling hosted back in, 1999 or 2000, I believe it was, it was $50 to $70 per seat. And, we see some crazy pricing on hosted. what is your company doing to kind of get out of the race to zero? How are you guys stabilizing the pricing? What value are you bringing to the end user customer? And Stu, I'll hand it back to you.
Okay, yeah, and first let me say about price drops. I mean, a phone call 20 years ago was 74 cents to call coast to coast. Now it's free. So, we're on the wrong path, and I just would have to say that the drop in pricing is not because of the customers, it's because of us. We're the ones who keep lowering the price to get the business, and sooner or later, the race to zero will emanate, and this room will be empty. So, what we're trying to do is to sell and get more wallet share by selling ancillary products, like call recording, like analytics, like SD-WAN and these kinds of things to, get the MRC at a reasonable place. I'm not sure how much further down the cost of a seat can go. I hope it doesn't go any further because it's pretty low now. And frankly, if you're in the Florida market, it's among the lowest in the United States. And if you're from other places, I mean, it's generally a little bit higher because maybe the providers have kept it that way and maybe it's expected to pay more in certain markets. I'm not sure I understand it, but hopefully you just have to get more wallet share by selling more products and services.
So the race to zero is alive and well. We are competitive on the UCaaS piece because we want to get them on our platform and sell them additional services at the end of the day, right? So we would love it if our customer today, we get on a $500 MRR, $1,000 MRR customer, and that customer is $1,500 or $2,000, right, at the end of the term. That's the goal, to increase their product set within, Nextiva. So, I mean, seriously, guys, there's probably 2, maybe 3 cycles left, okay, and seats will be sub $5, guaranteed. And a cycle, what is a cycle? A cycle is 3 years, right? Everybody signs a 3-year term. Seats, I am seeing pricing right now because I see all the pricing. And it is stupid out there. Now, at these levels, nobody wins. Everybody thinks the customer wins by going low price. Nobody wins. The customer doesn't win because there's lack of innovation that they're going to get for $5 a seat, okay, which is where we're going, or less. The partner doesn't win. Obviously, you have to sell 4 times as many seats when you get to $5. I don't know if that's sustainable. And obviously, the suppliers don't win because we cannot, keep the doors open and provide amazing service for these low-level prices and also be innovative as an organization. So that's why it's critical to get them on a platform where you can add additional products and services onto the platform. At the end of the day, provide the customers the way to increase their productivity, as I said earlier, and gain a competitive edge, okay, with unique products and higher MRR.
I agree with the trend that we're seeing, unfortunately, and it is because we've kind of let it happen. The services that we sell have value. They're making true business impacts on these clients, and what we have to understand is we have to approach the clients in a different manner. From Momentum's perspective, I go back to my question earlier, why? One of the reasons we ask that question is, how are we going to impact your business? A great example I'll give you is that, a customer that we were working with, we went through a very deep dive. We do a lot of discovery. We're very consultative in how we address the client and extract what we need to find out from them. One of the things we found out was in their contact center, there were processes that they had, goes back to they didn't know what they didn't know. And when we were able to educate them and have them understand how they can utilize contact center as a service in a much more efficient manner, we were able to prove actually that we were going to be increasing their revenues. So simultaneously, we were balancing, in the end, cost cutting, through their migration to the cloud, but we also educated them on how are they going to be generating revenues in the end. So moving to price right away is not a strategy that we use. It's actually the last thing that I try to talk about ever. What I try to do is extract as much information as I can so that when we go back to them with a design, with in the end what the solution is going to be, we're showing them that there is true business value in what we bring to the table, so that in the end, price should not be a matter.
Yeah, I think we're already definitely engaged in that, and we're doing things to stop that. One thing I think we see the market, and we have a single seat price right now. We don't have a basic, intermediate, and advanced where you got to go in and manage down to the management and who's getting what. It really is who's not getting what, and it's a takeaway upsell model. So by just stabilizing that, making it easier, the customer, it allows us to now demonstrate our value a lot easier in giving them a single seat license. And when they have that, now the agent can take all that and in an uncomplicated format, walk in and feel comfortable of what they're providing, making it easier for the customer to move forward. And I think that goes a long way. I mean, I see now metered seats out there, and just the unknown of throwing a dart up against the wall to be first to free, and that exactly again is not us out there. So by stabilizing that already, I think we're doing that, and we're excited to bring our capability to the market.
So I like to call it the race to almost zero. It's heading that way. If you look at it like the cellular industry, back when they had long-distance calls across the country for a per-minute rate, then he made those bundles of 700 minutes, 1,000 minutes of LD. Then you got down to where LD was included. That was a race to almost zero. Similar in the unified communication space and collaboration. One of the things Star2Star is doing is increasing and enhancing our product portfolio to add more value to the customer from a solution perspective. So we have a platform as a service, we have a desktop as a service, we have contact center, we have SD-WAN, we have collaboration and communication. So all those things we're adding to the suite of products and services so you can sell those to your customers. Additionally, we allow you to mark those services up from a cost perspective to add additional margin for you. So as rates decline, if you can keep your margins whole or increase them, you're better off from a profitability perspective as well. But if you look at Star2Star, we're a software company, and we build software, and that's the way we're headed in the future as we add more products and services.
All right, so this last question is a two-part question, and obviously nobody has a crystal ball here, but what does the future of the UCaaS industry look like? And specifically as it pertains to your company, what is the long-term plan? Joel?
So I think it's very bright. I mean, depending on which research paper you read, Forrester, et cetera, $23 billion total market cap with a CAGR of 22% on an annual basis, obviously with some rate declines. I mean, I know for a fact we're expanding globally. We're expanding domestically from a products and service perspective, from personnel, from solutions and service offerings. I think one of the big areas from an enterprise perspective is the collaboration suite of offerings from a solution perspective and ease of doing business with your clients. We have some very unique offerings that allow a customer to very cost effectively buy a full spectrum communication solutions for their business and capture all of that in one service provider. And that's the way we're heading in the marketplace, and we'll continue to do so as we grow throughout the remaining years. Was the second part of that question?
Second part of the question was, what is your company's, anything specific long-term outlook of Star2Star?
Specific to expand with partners such as yourselves, and I mentioned our desktop as a service solution, which is very unique in the marketplace that we're offering today. And we're also open to feedback. If there's something that you feel that would add value to the solution offering, we're listening. We do focus groups. We do surveys with our clients, as mentioned before. So all of these items we take internally and provide the best services for your customers, our customers, and the industry.
Yeah, I think right now it's definitely a lead-in product, and excited for that, and just the revenues that are there make it, the value, the hosted voice value is real. Where our company is going, I think we're just going to continue to go upstream. I think some of the things we've set in place to make it easy to do business with us should be the norm. I love the U.S.-based call center that we have. We'll maintain that. I've been a part of the other international type call centers and support centers, and as a channel manager, I had to be on those calls. It scared me to death when the second line was, did you reset the router? So I think the differentiator there that we have is real for that, and the fact that we're 100% partner focused, and that won't change. We're not competing against you. That is a differentiator ourselves. We don't have the rules around you where this is a named account and now it's in somebody's direct account revenue funnel that they didn't even know about until you had to call them, and now you bring in a direct rep as your compadre or whatever you want to call it, competitor realistically in the demands. I see more and more companies also just, again, continue those, what sales they won't take and what sales they will and what markets they want to dab in and stuff like this. And again, that's just not us. We want to keep it, just make it easy to do business with Net2Phone now in the future.
So it seems like we've all been in the UCaaS world. Is that my hook? We've all been in the UCaaS world, it seems, for so long, for years. But if you really look at it, UCaaS is nowhere near peaking. It's still a fairly young market with a ton of potential out there. So what we're doing is, like I mentioned earlier, we made a couple of key acquisitions earlier this year to buffer our portfolio. And what Momentum's doing is basically keeping kind of an eye on the market, listening to our clients and understanding where are the gaps in our portfolio. And what do we have to bring in, maybe another acquisition, something else that we need to fulfill a need that we're seeing in the market to be able to round out our portfolio even further.
So does everybody know what the total addressable market is in UCaaS right now? How much available revenue is there? Anybody have an idea? So the total addressable, that's right, the total addressable market in UCaaS right now is $20 billion, okay? And we have a little over 20% market share of the overall market. So there is a gold rush, it's a significant opportunity, but we need to look to the future, right? We need to look to the future, and we need to look to help our customers, right? Like I said, they need to increase their productivity, and we need to get a better gauge on that. Now, what NextEve is doing is holistically, organically, we're going into a different market with our CRM, which is Sales and Support CRM, our web chat, and our survey product tied into our voice product, all on one platform to provide your customers that data, business analytics, and intelligence all together takes us to a $100 billion total addressable market. Okay? So we're changing the paradigm, going from 20 billion UCaaS, shrinking, consolidating, prices decreasing, price compression, over to solution selling. So with Nextiva's product suite, our portfolio, of all those products together, it's about $40 to $45 a seat. Okay, and you look and you say, wow, that is a good rate, right? Because if you went in and bought the siloed technologies like a UCaaS seat, a CRM, a web chat, and a surveys, you could spend up to $150, $200 a seat. And these large organizations are going to sell you at a higher rate because you're a small to medium-sized business or even an enterprise business because you're not a Fortune 500 company. Salesforce will sell a CRM seat or HubSpot to a large organization for $30, $40. Okay, but a small organization, you're going to spend $200 on that technology. So we're taking out the integrations, we're putting it on one platform so your customers can constantly be on the latest technology. Remember, it's as a service, software as a service. So UCaaS, if you want to use it for phone service, great. Use it for phone service, get in that race. If you want to do a little more dialogue, a little deeper, okay, and future-proof your customer, then NextEve is the right answer.
Okay, so IP Phone has been making some moves. We have some new offices over the last 3 years. We have Jacksonville, Atlanta, Philadelphia. So we're moving out to support the agent model for the folks in this room. One of the things that our biggest goal is to sell into the base and try to sell more services to the same people to make the customers stickier, get more wallet share, and give them the services that make them competitive in their own field. Because the last thing we want is our competitors, or your competitors particularly, to come into sales that have been made by you and have them taken away by someone who does that deeper dive or offers a lower price. And I wanted to talk to something about what Carl said about these cycles. And probably in the last 3 years, there's probably been a pretty big move in the hosted selling environment. And a lot of these customers now are coming due. They're coming due for contract. So as sellers out there, I would not take for granted that these people are just going to sign again and get auto-renewed by you. They're going to go shopping, and the worst thing to do is to lose a customer because they shop for somebody else for a better price without telling you, which means maybe you're not serving them well. And last but not least, our biggest goal is to keep impressing people like you so our phones will keep ringing. And I thank you for it.
All right, some really great content right there from everybody on the panel, guys. Really thank you for being a part of it. I wanted to open up the room to some questions for these guys. It's quite unusual to have them.
Steve, I was in one of the webinars when you were doing the new platform. At the time, you built your own CRM. But are you still open to the open architecture for Zoho and a Salesforce integration for people who don't want? I mean, it was real good that you'll move, 10,000 customers for nothing and do the own uploads for that. Are you still going on an open architecture setup for the future?
Yeah, good question. So we have open APIs, and we support over 30 integrations with different CRMs. So we just came out with our inbox product, by the way, that is revolutionary. If you want to demo any of this, by the way, we'll be demoing it at the 2 o'clock event tomorrow, the floor. I don't know where that's at, by the way, but I know they have open floor around here. We can demo that for you.
There's that one more for everybody there. Does anybody have an account code set up, like for law firms? I know
Yes.
reporting is good.
Yes.
For lawyers for the country.
Well, that was an easy one. That's like had those for since I think 98.
No, we have.
So the big question is 2-digit or 3-digit?
We have integration with Clio, so it'll actually, the record will pop up, and they can actually start billing from the integration on Clio. Yeah, that's why we did that integration.
2 questions. Are any of you guys publicly traded?
No, not me.
No.
The second question is, do you integrate with Dynamics Office 365, the cloud version with Dynamics?
Yes.
So if a client has an account number and you can see their account number, they put in that code, then that call will be handled by the proper team?
So it's going to be a click the dial or pop up. It's basic, integration, and I would have to get you an answer on that. But I know we do support the cloud version. I'll have to get with an engineer on that question.
So I know a lot of online Voip services provide the transcription for voicemail. Do you guys do keyword recognition so that you can filter based on the type of conversation that's being had on the voicemail?
We could do that in the contact center with an omni-channel contact center for inbound. That's IVR basically. All right, through the Cisco customer journey platform.
Same here. Yeah, same here.
What about integration with Microsoft Teams specifically?
Coming out in January.
Yeah, same here. We're doing a big integration to Teams.
January.
Somebody just nodded and told me we were.
All right, well, thank you, everyone, for being here. We appreciate your time. Thank you, guys.